We talked about, the situation in North Korea, but we don't know how to escape. People from Korea and the Korean people helped us to manage the escape routes. We were in safe house for 5 months without internet, without cell phones. North Korean regime, after our escape, they are, chasing us, tracking us. So we had to, change our names and then history and even like the birthdays. That's basically the unit I served, and then we have several units like this. This is the big, the show for Kim Jong-un and the foreign leaders. North Korea is very unique because this country developed missiles and and then nuclear weapons and still make their own people starvation. Any person, any rank could be subject to execution. That's why so many people are afraid and then they live under fear. North Korea could be a peaceful coexistence country with South Korea. It's nonsense. Kim Jong-un regime's goal is to keep this power forever.
Well, what was it like? I mean, maybe we start off in the early kind of days for you and growing up in North Korea. What was your family life like, and what was the country like at that point?
In North Korea, there are different types of, I would say, the caste system. Like we call the Songbun system. So the upper class, really, really upper class people, they are categorized a core class, and then they are the people who, support Kim family from the beginning of this country. For example, the anti-Japanese forces and then the people who fought against the United States during the Korean War, and those people who around Kim Il Sung, the founder of North Korea. So they are treated as the the founder of this country. So not many people, like about 100 or 2, the families are treated as a like real like upper class. Uh, Other than that, most North Koreans are classified as the working class, and it means that labor, the workers, class. So I was part of that, and my grandfather was normal like citizen. He was a you know mid level the government official, but that was I found it later my grandfather parents history, because when I admitted the Workers' Party of North Korea, and then they checked all my backgrounds, including my grandparents. So they told me what grandparents did during the Korean War. So my mother's side grandfather, he participated in the Korean War on the North Korean side, but when North Korean army recruited him to be a North Korean soldier, and my grandfather's mother hid him from North Korean, the soldiers, army. And then they came back again later, several days later, and then recruited him. So he went on the war and then fight, but the regime make a categorize like the category that he is the guy who avoid fight for his own nation or country. So even though he fought, he categorized as the type of not anti-regime, but still like you know underclass person. So he didn't develop the career. He couldn't. So his last position is like some type of official in town, like very small town. And my father's father, like my father's side grandfather, he didn't join a Korean War as a soldier, but he was a supporter of like a news leader there, and then he kind of supported materials behind the scene. But again, the regime, make a note that this guy didn't participate in the war. So I don't know who made the document, and then because of those documents, and then my grandparents couldn't develop the career, but it changed it from my father's generation. So my father worked for government, and he became a vice minister level in North Korea, and then he was the former CEO of one of the biggest company in North Korea. So at the time, my father figured out that those history, and then he sent people to, you know, investigate this issue because not like my family, many other North Koreans had such history. So once they are categorized as a hostile class or a not favorable class to North Korea, and then their generations, their relatives cannot develop the career, and then they are living as like a hostile class. So my father, he tried and then changed the grandparents' history. So at the end, we successfully manage it, find the people who can, make a testimony and then provide evidence. Oh, they are loyal to the regime. So eventually, we got there. So I would say I'm a normal citizen with normal family, but my father developed his career. So I got blessed, and later become a elite class. So that's the case.
And how did you? Yeah. So what? I guess before we get into how you became an elite class, what was it like? What is school like? What was it? What was it like going to school in North Korea?
Yep. I was born in 1985 in a small town, North Korea. It's a coastal town called Wonsan, and I believe that Kim Jong-un is born in there too. Like at least he regards Wonsan as the hometown because he is trying to invest so much, money in there, and he wants to develop the Wonsan as a tourist zone, and he has so much affection to this city. So I'm proud of I like the Wonsan city. It's like here Sarasota coastal town, nice beach. So, but when I was 4, my father got government positions, senior positions. So we moved to Pyongyang. So from that moment, I got into really nice the elite schools, and then the school I went was elementary school was Kumsong Academy, which is now current North Korean leader's wife, the first lady's school too. So, North Korean first lady is kind of junior member than me. So we went to same school. And later I went to Pyongyang Foreign Language School, which is specializing in teaching foreign languages. So I learned English, and then we have a number of different languages in our school, but English was the majority among those languages. And so many people ask, like, why North
Yeah.
Korea?
Why? I was just thinking, why would they teach English to citizens?
That's a great question. So, North Korea theory is like this: the United States is enemy of our nation, but if we want to defeat enemy, you have to learn and understand what enemy is thinking, what enemy is doing. So, because of that, we should learn English, and we have to master the English. So that's what we learn. And then, but many elite class, parents, they understood at the time foreign language could bring their children more brighter future and more opportunity to go overseas and to see other countries, because they couldn't. My parents' generation, the government officials, they had no chance to travel overseas often, except you are business official or diplomat. So many powerful people are stuck in North Korea, and then they never experienced. So they believe that North Korea is the best country. So that's most education. So but they want their children experience and see outside. So that's why they put most elite kids are in that school. So I was growing up with with the powerful people's children. So that's a top school in North Korea, and but the education.
But they're not teaching English everywhere, just in that school. Is that right?
So that school is more specialized school, but
Okay.
in normal like high school, we are learning English and Russian. So they think that's two top two languages spoken in the world. So English is most spoken language, but I didn't know why we should learn Russian. I guess it was Russia and North Korea is a close ally, so they promote learning Russia, but less people learning Russian. More people wanted to learn English and later Chinese. Yes.
And so that's the capital city.
Yep.
And it's there's the quality of life there is significantly better than the rest of the country. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
I would say the North Korean regime puts all the resources in that city.
Okay.
Most investments and most capital and the most revenue flow into this city. This is the core of this North Korean regime, and the North Korean regime called the city as a heart of North Korea. And because of so much difference between Pyongyang city and then rural area and other town, most North Koreans outside of Pyongyang are jealous of life in the people in Pyongyang. But once they get Pyongyang, and honestly, there are not many differences. Most of Pyongyang citizens are still living the same conditions. They are slightly better, but still they are not getting much than other city citizens. Only a few, like for example, 10% are enjoying better life than other people. So they are I could say they are the elites. But in Pyongyang, I would say about 3 million people are there. But only 300,000 are really rich and powerful, and they are the person who enjoy life in Pyongyang. Other than that, I think they are most likely the normal citizens.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many total people in North Korea?
It's about 25 million people.
25 million people, 3 million people in the capital city, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name because I'm going to embarrass myself. And
No.
and how many people are in prison? Is it 200,000 people?
So we have number of prison camp, and then it is not publicly available information, but my friends imprisoned the political prison camp, and then there are some people survived from the prison camp, but many of them couldn't. They are still imprisoned or they already died. So I assume that there are more than 10 prison camps, large prison camps, and they are located in rural area, and they are mobilized to produce coal like and other natural resources. Most people are political prisoners and then economic prisoners, and some of them are they didn't make any big mistake, but some of them are in prison because of watching Hollywood movies and South Korean dramas. But as you're mentioning, like 200,000 people, so I would say that number is correct because historically that much number of people are imprisoned. So maybe it's more than 200,000 people now. Yeah.
It's actually probably 25 million people, right, that are imprisoned in North Korea.
That's exactly correct explanation. North Korea is a total isolated country. Now Kim Jong-un blocked the whole border and after the pandemic, and then now he restricted people's travel to outside, and before Kim Jong-un took power, still like more than 100,000 people traveled to China and other countries. But after Kim Jong-un killed his uncle, he restricted people's traveling, downsized to like 10,000. So most likely, 90% of travelers was, reduced, and then after the pandemic, he total closed, and then he think that he can manage the country without any help, and that's the most the disturbing part for me, because if that continues like isolation, Kim could reign the country like whole life for his whole life. So that means real tragedy for North Korean people.
And is there, do you know, economically, is there much debt? Is there like, is it a financially, what's the financial situation?
So technically speaking, the North Korea's economy collapsed long time ago. After Soviet Union's collapse, we stopped distributing materials to people. But before that, I still remember when I was young, we used to go. We went to the shopping mall, and then they distributed some daily necessities and toothbrushes and some soybean sauce like that. But after the 1994, like when the first Kim died, and then the entire distribution is stopped. So from that moment, people are basically they should all, make their lives by themselves. There's no way we can rely on the government, but the regime built this reliance system for decades, and suddenly people lost their the income and then materials. So that's why we went through Audius March late 1990s, which I think more than 3 million people died. And that's the major issue for North Korea, and many people in Western countries and then scholars that talk that North Korea is very unique because this country developing missiles and then nuclear weapons and still like make their own people starvation. So it's very unique, and it couldn't understand. But the system is like we have had a distribution system. Now people are making their lives through black market, not relying on the party or leader. But still, we had to listen everything from the party and the leader. So the government economy is collapsed, but the private economy, like people's economy, is thrive on the market. And regime wanted to control the market, but they couldn't, because if they entirely control or like stop the black market, and then there will be another massive starvation and hunger, and people may rise up against the regime. So they couldn't stop the black market. So technically now most people are rely on the black market.
So how does he keep this? How does he keep everyone in the dark? Like, I mean, there's an intranet. There's no access to the internet, right? So, and what is? Yeah, let's answer that question first.
So very good question, and I think people are not quite understanding the North Korean system from like US here, and there are some people think North Korea is still a good country, because when they see North Korea, they see like marvelous the buildings, and then people are smiling on the Pyongyang street, and they think it's a good country. Why America is making North Korea as an evil nation? But if you look at the system, it is an evil nation. Like, for example, you mentioned how this country is so dark. This country is total isolated country. We only talked about North Korea as a prison, right? So 25 million people are captured, and they are not allowed to leave their town without any permission. So inside, when we travel to like a province to province and city to city, we need to get the travel document. Without the travel document, you are not allowed to stay in any hotels or any other friend's house. So if you're staying in friend's house in the midnight, out of nowhere, the police will knock you the friend's house, and then will drag you out because you don't have a travel document. So that's the North Korea. That's the system how they can manage people's movement, and like we only have like several TV channels and then one broadcasting the system. So all we are hearing is government propaganda. And even though we could access some, Korean dramas and information from outside, but the Korean propaganda, the North Korean propaganda, is dominating people's mindset, and not just the TV or material. We went to school, we went to military, we went to factory, and we have everyday session of government policy, leaders' history. So even though you don't listen, and it's automatically instill your brain the whole government propaganda. So that's the way North Korean regime controls people's mindset. Yeah.
And if you like, what is the punishment for going and staying at a friend's house if you don't get a travel permission?
Less serious. Like you will be punished. Like at the your your working space level. Like the political officer will punish you for several weeks, like more work, or writing the self criticism for 10 pages, and then sometimes you get demoted if that's the serious case, and then sometimes you are kicked out from the party membership. So that is more serious punishment. But it it is more it depends on the a person who, if you are ranking official, and you get more severe punishment. If you are like a normal citizen, and then there's no way they can punish him severely, but still there are got some criticism. So yeah.
And so, yeah, that's incredible. That's crazy. So, what about like Starlink? Like, I mean, you'd have to smuggle it into the country, I guess, right? I mean, you could probably, it's probably not reasonable or feasible, but they're controlling people's access to information and to the internet and to the rest of the world. And so they're limiting, there's an intranet, so there's no internet, so you can't actually go out and find any information yourself. What about like a Starlink for people? Like, is that something that, I mean, you'd probably get put in jail for the rest of your life if anybody ever found that you had it, but
That's a great suggestion. I mean, we hope Elon Musk and Starlink can send those devices, and then let people access Starlink. But there are some technical issues, and also like not political, but in terms of business, the Starlink business, they could be impacted by North Korean cyber hackers. So we kind of discussed, what if Google or Starlink, send those internet balloon or Starlink devices. Obviously, North Korean regime will block it, but what if we smuggle them? But there are some technical issues. How do we pay for the devices? And if Elon is so generous, and then he provide those devices for free for North Korean people, and who knows, that might work. But some of the big corporations are worrying about retaliation by the North Korean government. They all experienced the Sony hack 2014. North Korean cyber hackers, they hacked Sony Pictures to stop the movie, The Interview, which is Kim Jong-un's death, and which is the American journalist. I mean, the movie was like American journalist went to North Korea and then tried to kill Kim Jong-un. So that movie was so wild, and then North Korean regime asked the cyber warriors to stop this movie. So they hacked Sony Pictures, and it was very, very famous cases. And then it was the kind of North Korean cyber hackers announcement: we are going to act against the U.S. assets and then international assets. So because of that cases, many big corporations are reluctant to do something with North Korea.
what is the exact like propaganda that the government is brainwashing the North Korean people with? Like what is the image that they're attempting to put into people's mind about the nature of reality?
There are three types of propaganda. one is more making people believe Kim family is the God figure. The second is regime make us to believe, truly believe who is our enemy. Obviously, United States is the main enemy, and South Korea and Japan. And then the third thing is they try to make us, trust and believe North Korea is the best system in the world. So the Kim family history and then Kim family's God figure. Many people think that they are untouchable. And North Korean regime always make a propaganda that we should follow what he's saying. We should, we should do our best what he orders to us. And we have slogans everywhere. We have the sentences spoken by Kim family members everywhere. So, in other way, we can say that North Korea is literally run by Kim family's words. So that's the propaganda and brainwashing mechanism by the North Korean regime. And then even though we have any public session and the study, we have to quote those Kim family's quotes, and we have to sing the Kim family history, and then the songs about them, and it's funny, but that's the must have the tradition for us. And then the other part is I mentioned earlier the second part, why North Korea needs enemy.
Right.
Yeah. So
Why do you have to hate? Why do they have to hate somebody?
Because North Korea wanted to control people, but what's easy to control is making enemy. So
there's a threat. There's something to fear. You must trust in us. That sort of a thing.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So they always educate us. U.S. is trying to invade us, and
we do that here too. I mean, we absolutely do that here. We're creating enemies where none exist. I mean, the Chinese people are great people. The Russian people are great people. I get that there's wars and that people are fighting, but I mean, we definitely have that. I mean, everybody feels like everybody kind of has that. If you're identified with a nation, you're gonna there's the other. There's the enemy, the people that you're not identified with, and it's that's a global phenomenon, but it sounds like it's very deeply brainwashed and then seeded into the North Korean people's minds.
Yes. So U.S. Military was in the Korean War, and then they are fighting against North Korean army, and then North Korean regime believes that that's the really good material to brainwash people. So we have lots of pictures and materials that how U.S. Army brutally killed citizens during the Korean War, and so that's the main education. And then nowadays China is making U.S. as more like not enemy but the competitive competitor. So the Chinese people are united. We should fight against the U.S. In terms of tariff, in terms of other things. So that is more better mentality in North Korea. North Korean regime make the U.S. as an enemy for their own survival. Without enemy, we need to focus other things. But in terms of economy and other aspects, all collapsed. So they cannot make people's attention to other things. So the regime wanted to make people's attention to this one aspect: enemy, so that their lives, they let them believe that their life is threatened by outside. So that's the reason why North Korean regime needs enemy. And the government always propagandize that our system is way better because we are socialism, because we working for people. But we have slogans, and then we have maybe in 1970s, 1980s we had a system for people like in the distribution and for free like that. But it's not going to work anymore because we lack of resources. We all couldn't rely on the government anymore. So, for example, they keep mentioning that we have a better system than other country. Why? We don't have taxes. So, many people here couldn't understand if you don't have taxes, how the country can, make resources for people. But basically, we exchanged our empty taxes with our freedom. Like they didn't, put the taxes, but they didn't give us money. So average salary for North Korean citizens is less than $1, almost 50 cents per month.
For what period of time?
Until now.
No, but a dollar, you make $1 every day, every week, every hour?
No, I mean the 50 cents per month.
Per month?
Yes.
Wow.
So my dad served
$6 a year.
Yes, correct.
Wow.
My dad serves as a ranking person there, a ranking official there. But when he got his salary, I saw it was more than just slightly more than $1. It was a 2005, 6, and he couldn't bring those money to the house because the ranking officials should contribute their salary and then their loyalty to the government. And we have like Kim Jong-un Foundation Fund. So his salary automatically goes to the foundation. And he never gets salary. And there will be another question, then how do you guys survive? How do you guys maintain your family? Technically speaking, most of North Korean elites, most of the North Korean public are making money through markets and other source of incomes. So that's why market is way more important than any other things in North Korea. So people are making a business there and they're making money. Still, they are targeted by the government, and then they have to send the briberies to the government officials, and then some government officials taking bribery, and that was the main source of income for them. And for like my dad, and then we did international business. So we make money through international business from other business partners in like Japan and China. And then North Korean regime didn't restrict making money from international business, and they didn't punish because in North Korea we have a government pricing system. So government define the price, not like a market or the business people define the prices. For example, I sold coal to China, and the North Korean regime defined the price. You have to sell like $80 per metric ton. After $80, and then it depends on me, and I can make more or make less. But if I make more, and then that could bring my income, and then but I have to also contribute the party. So while we are in China, and my dad technically sent $100,000 per year. That's a quota for my dad. You have to make the money. After $10,000, I mean $100,000. I mean, spelling $100,000. After $100,000, we have to make more to survive. So that's the the system that how North Korean elites make money.
You mentioned that the Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un was a godlike figure.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? What does that mean in the minds of the North Korean people? Like, do they actually think that he's a god?
Not like a real god figure, but most people in North Korea believe that he is given, like he's a person, but he's given by the North Korean leadership, and then there could be no more arguments about his, experience, about his existence. So it's a multiple like operation by the North Korean regime, like a propaganda, and also like a pushing people, believing in Kim's, word and in Kim's action. But there's a difference between Kim Jong-un and Kim Jong-un's father, and then first the founder of North Korea, Kim Il-sung. So Kim Il-sung was really respected by most North Koreans. At the time, they believed that he's the guy who can lead the country, and then he is working for people. And actually, I think he did a great job, establishing economy and then the system. But from the second game, uh, the system is more distorted to the personal cultural relationship. And second game wanted to become a leader, but compared to other like experienced people, and North Korea is socialist system, as I said earlier, we shouldn't have a succession. But he wanted to become leader, and then he made his father as a god figure. Like he was a great guy. He fought two major wars, Japanese and Americans, and he defended our nation from the imperialists. And then we secured our socialist system. So basically, Second Kim made his father as a god, and then like forever leader for North Korea. And now it's more natural that his son should be a leader. So he got his position, but he was relying on more like military, and then because he didn't pursue like the same the policy after his father, because he couldn't develop economy more. And once he decided to make some openness and reform of economy, he realized that if North Korea opens and information flow in, and he couldn't sustain his power, so he decided that kind of isolation, but let people do some business with China and Russia, so that like he can continue his power. Now it's the third game. He's inexperienced, and then he trying to lead everything, and he wanna show people that he's a great leader, but people has no same respect now. So, but still, we have to follow, we have to respect, we have to you know execute his word for what he's saying. So, for example, recently there was a failure of the battleship, launch event. The destroyer was, failed to successfully launch. The kind of thing. He's ill-tempered, and he pushed people to do more quickly. But we need a process of doing such, technological development. But he didn't care, and then asked the people like, you should finish this until like tomorrow or like that. But he doesn't want to listen, and then North Korea obviously couldn't produce good materials like steels and other electrical devices. They procure from those devices from like China and Russia, but sometimes they got wrong devices, so it could easily become failure. But they should do some test run, like other test other stuff, but they didn't. So that's type of failure. But so Kim is more um I mean, I would say he didn't get respect from like senior officials and most North Korean public now.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, what percentage of the people in North Korea do you think are completely bought into the propaganda that they're being sold? And what percentage do you think are kind of feel like there's something beneath the story? I mean, like, is it? I mean, there's the propaganda as it relates to him being a godlike figure. There's the propaganda as it relates to America being the enemy. You know, there's all this there's all of this that they have the best economic system, and you know, like how out of that total brainwashing picture that the government is trying to force into the people's minds, how many people from a percentage standpoint do you think are completely bought in versus otherwise?
Yeah. It could be at least 50%. It could be up to like 70%. Especially people living in rural area, they are still believing, Kim is a good guy. He wants to, make their life better. But other rest of the, officials don't do their job best. So the country is so poor, and then they are living on that such situation. So, but like I would say, most elites and the people living in like towns and most advanced cities, they have less, belief in Kim because they could access outside information. So I would say it depends on the information they access. But I would say 70% of people are still in the dark. Yeah.
Okay. And how does he keep himself like safe and protected and guarded? He's in the capital city, and he's like, where is he? What's his living, like his situation like?
Yeah, he's living with his, family, surrounded by gods, and he has more than like a 30 village. 30, no, I mean, he has more than 30 villas across the nation. It's well protected, and we often see the North Korean, videos that he visited many places, and then people are, crying for him. But big, if we make one visit, I mean Kim's visit, and they need to make like a god system. So if he visits the military base, and then from the military base, like for example, like 10 miles from the military base, it should be totally guided. So they have a 3 layer of Kim's protection. One, like the very first layer, they are doing like military soldiers protecting the second tier of the Kim's guard. And then the second round is also the first tier of the military guards for Kim Jong-un. And then the final, the layer is Kim's private, the guards. So we have a three, the layer of the protection. So there's no way anyone could, get close to Kim Jong-un with weapons. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, except his own people, I guess, potentially his own guards. I mean, are they carrying live ammunition? Are they?
Yes.
Yeah,
they're carrying live ammunition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that I heard you talk about was when you were in your training that you maybe fired, was it 3 bullets a year?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
It's very shameful for a North Korean army, but especially normal units. I initially served 4 Corps, and then the first year I shoot 3 bullets, and then we laughed at each other because we know that best shooter got some reward, and then could we figure out that? We only shoot the 3 bullets, and then there's no more like a test. So we laughed at each other, and then I moved to Special Force, which is more like performance unit for foreign leaders and Kim. And when we have foreign leaders, and we do more shooting training, so at the time we didn't get any limitation. Because we have to, train to show foreign leaders. So while I was at the number 15 combat research technique, I'm sorry. So when I was number 15 Combat Technique Research Institute, we had, Putin's bodyguard, and then there was a vice president from some African countries. So we show them our performance. So basically, we are showing martial arts 1 versus 8, 1 versus 16, like that. And then later we show them, how we throw knives and utensils, all the So basically,
Utensils.
yes, like a fork,
Forks.
and then forks, and then chopsticks.
Spoons.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yes, yes. So
Okay.
the junior guys, throwing knives 6 meters, and then the more senior guys 9 meters. That's like all maximum meters distance we do, and then basically anything you can grab, you should be able to throw it, and then make the target, and then later we have the shooting performance like AK-47, and then pistol. And sometimes we make a trick. We put the gasoline bottle in the major target, so that when we fire it, there was a flame. And then when the foreign leaders sees that, and then they think it's a different bullet.
Sure.
And then they asked what type of bullet you guys using, and then we want to buy it. So
Secret technology.
Yeah, we always said it's a secret. It's only for North Korean special force, but
Right.
it's the trick.
That's funny. Has he considered, as a way to save money on bullets, has he considered like pellets, like pellet guns, to see who the best shooter is? Has he considered high-powered pellet guns, or even 22 ammunition isn't all that expensive?
No.
It seems like you guys ought to be shooting some stuff, right?
Yeah, I think we have multiple millimeters the bullets, but and that's the thing. We never educated, what millimeters. So that's basically the unit I served, and then we have several units like this. This is the big, show for Kim Jong-un and the foreign leaders. So they are well fed and well trained. It's only like several people, like less than 100 people are doing this. So yeah, I don't know why we are doing that. You see the glasses, and then why they're sitting on the glasses and then using hammer to break those big stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Kim is still laughing there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kim's the fantasy is making all North Korean army like this.
Right. Right. Like something from a movie.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I described: the throwing knives and then the forks and yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Okay. So that, I mean, it's designed to create this aura, this sense of like dominance and power, and like the toughest military, the tough guys that are laying on glass and throwing knives at each other, and breaking 2x4s on their heads, and I mean, it's like, it sounds like it's designed to create that element of of superiority militaristically. So I guess, then your time within the military, the people are supposed to serve for, is it 10 years or so?
Yes, 10 years.
And you served for 3 or 3.5?
3 years and 4 months.
Okay. Yep. And so how were you able to get out of that service a little bit early?
That's a good question. So most North Korean soldiers have to serve 10 years. And there was one system that like North Korean leadership believed, that a kind of incentive. While you're serving the military, you can be promoted to the college if you have a good background of like a study. When you study hard while you're in high school, you get good grade, and then you can be a good talent for that. And also your background, like the class should be working class, not under like a hostel class. So that's another element. And also I should be recommended by my unit, and then officers, and also my peers. So it's more like in a system that unit and people are recommending me to college like that. So I went through that process, and then I was able to, discharging from the military after my 3 years and 4 months service. Other than that, most North Korean soldiers have to serve for 10 years.
Okay, gotcha. What was the moment when you realized that you had to escape, that you had to get out?
Um, so I was in China for 8 years. I studied undergraduate there, and after my undergraduate, I was involved in business between North Korea and China. So the main job I was doing is um, managing shipping arrangement, like and the natural resources trade. So I managed it almost 7 cargo ships, and then annually we did 200,000 metric tons of North Korean, coal and iron ore. And it was a really good business. And I described earlier with Ryan that China was developing so well from 2007 and 8, and then 2008 was Beijing Olympic. It's a Chinese big announcement of their international status, and it's kind of China saying we are ready to show China to international stage. So they had lots of constructions, and they need a steel, and North Korean coal. Mainly, we are providing North Korean coal to Chinese steel companies. So they're producing steel. So they needed lots of steel, and then they needed lots of North Korean coal and iron ore. So that's what I did at the time. And on the government side, Chinese government pushed North Korean regime to reform and do economic openness. And Kim Jong-un's uncle, Jang Song-taek, was the one who is in charge of doing such policy. And he went to China with the second game, 2010. And four of them, Kim Jong-il, Jang Song-taek, and Chinese leader Hu Jintao, and Chinese Prime Minister Wen Jiabao, four of them, they had a private meeting. And from the meeting, they decide North Korea's reform and openness. Kim Jong-il agreed to do that, and he appointed Chang as the main person who lead such a reform and open policy. So China was happy, and they supported North Korea economically, and they opened North Korean business to do business in Chinese market. That's how North Korea got so many economic reliance on China. But after Kim Jong-un's official his work in his office after his father's death in 2012, he felt threat. He felt threatened by his uncle. He felt threatened by Chinese leadership. He believed that China supported his uncle, and then his uncle is having more power than him, and then people inside North Korea kind of respect Zhang's leadership, because they believe that this Jang Song-taek's reform and openness will bring people's life better. And then and he was the family of Kim, and then we all respect. He is the kind of type of leader.
He was Kim Jong-il's brother?
Brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Sister's husband?
yes, sister's husband. So there was no difference, him and Kim family members. So now he felt threatened, and then he decided to kill his uncle. So
So how did he do that?
It was November 2013. I went to Pyongyang, and the day I arrived in the Pyongyang train station, my uncle came to pick me up, and then he told me that, hey, today we had a big news, and then I asked what is it, and he told me that one of the top associate to Chang Sung-taek was arrested, which is my father's friend, and then also friend the his son-in-law we had some type of business together. I was worried so much his family because it's not like random arrest. It's a targeted arrest by the security agency and Kim Jong-un. Like after 7 days, I heard another news that they are all executed. I was like, wow, stunned and not giving any and I didn't do anything in Pyongyang at the time. I was hiding, like we were. Uh, I was trying to avoid the casual talk as well with people because if I talk about China or talk about those people who were executed, and then I mean it could put me in risk. Then
So who was it that was executed?
it's a one is called Chang Soo-gil. He was the deputy director for North Korea's administration department in the North Korean Workers' Party, and then that administration department was led by Chang Sung-taek, Kim Jong-un's uncle, and they have so much power, and they was literally run the whole economy in North Korea. And the other one was Lee Yong-ha, another deputy director under Chong. So two top deputy director were executed brutally. And
How?
so
Like how did they kill him?
200 officials took a bus to the execution site and put them there, let them sitting there, and then there was two people tied, and with their eyes were folded by the clothes, and then the military officer make announcement that these two traders of the nation, they are very disloyal to the leader, and they were anti-government, anti-leader activists, so they deserve to die. So they use not normal guns, they use anti-craft machine guns, which is I believe it is like 760 millimeters bullet. It's a huge bullet. And they launched against the two people. And suddenly, the whole body, it's blown, gone, it's scattered. And what the surprising was, they put the Chang Sung-taek, the Kim Jong-un's uncle, in the front line, very front line, so that he can watch and he can, literally see his subordinates to die. And then the, body and blood, all like scattered. And later there was another announcement that these guys are not entitled to bury this sacred land. So they use fire projector and then burn the leftovers, and they're using tank to crush the body. So when I talk this story, some people said, "Oh, it's a made-up story." No, there was literally 200 people witnessed the execution scene, and there was a generals who witnessed the execution scene and talked to my father and me, whole scene, and I saw their eyes. And this guy, he couldn't sleep for 3 days because of the scene was, in the whole in his brain, and then he couldn't eat, and I was like shocked. So that was the brutal execution, and after that there are ongoing executions about a year. Just to grab people and send them execution site and then shoot with the anti-craft machine guns. And during that time we had a like a joke, and young people made a joke, and we still have bullets to shoot you, like that. So Kim Jong-un made an announcement that the sound of the anti-corruption machine gun should be louder than anybody else. So he kept mentioning that, any person, any, rank could be subject to execution. That's why so many people are afraid, and then they live under fear. And that was kind of first decision of my family to decide, we are not going to serve this leader. And later we went to Pyongyang September 2014, and we find out that Kim's aunt, the Jang Sung-taek's wife, she was also disappeared. And my father had a relationship with, Kim family god members, and because he visited often the Central Party buildings, and they talked my dad, Kim Jong-hee, Kim Jong-un's aunt, is dead. I mean, I don't know how, but at the time we heard that she committed suicide, or she was, captured, imprisoned in her private facility, so she cannot go out and she cannot do any activity. So my father believed that she was the only, back to bloodline, which is North Korea propagandized back to bloodline line is Kim family bloodline. So she was the only person left in the back to bloodline. Now she's gone. This back to bloodline got cut off. Kim Jong-un is not back to bloodline. His mother is from Japan. So that's another reason Kim Jong-un is hiding his mother from the public. So in North Korea, the people from Japan in 1960s, 70s, they are treated as second-class citizens. They cannot develop this is Kim Jong-un's aunt.
He killed that girl?
Yeah. And then she...
How old was she?
She's more than 70, but I truly believe that she died. Yeah, and
well, she's dead, right?
yeah,
I mean,
but North Korean regime, there was a secret. North Korean regime, several years ago, because my dad talked to media that Kim Jong-il died. North Korean regime showed her on public with Kim Jong-un in some public events, but her action was so weird. She didn't talk to people next to her. And she didn't talk to, obviously, Kim Jong-un, his, cousin, right? And then, first lady. That's, sin. So I believe she is, body double. And then in the past, we had many body doubles of Kim Jong-il. I truly believe Kim Jong-un has body double as well. So
looks like there's double of them right there.
Yeah, so they they made an actor for Kim Jong-hee to show international media that she is alive, she's not dead. But after that, she is gone. She disappeared from the public, and most importantly, in North Korea, if you are still respected by the government or regime, you hold the positions like honorary membership or big position in government, even though you are sick. But Kim Jong-il was disappeared. They took all the the position from her, not even giving her a honorary the respect. Now, as a normal North Korean citizen, we couldn't understand because it's other people compared to other, the former ranking members. They hold the position until the day died, but Kim Jong-il was not. So we believe that Kim Jong-il is gone. She's not the person on Earth, she already dead, like that. Yeah. So that was another, decision maker for us to escape.
Gotcha. And so how many executions do you think have occurred since he's taken power?
There are a number of reports, and we believe that more than 30 public executions Other government officials, they are investigated, and then they were sent to political prison camp with their entire family. And another famous case was my father proposed by government as the general director of the tourism department, which is Minister Nebel. And then he supposed to go North Korea to serve that role, but he refused. Came back to China, and then we left. In 2017, there were Chinese visitors. Government, dispatched the visitors, scholars, and then experts, and then government officials. They went to North Korea, and then they all died because of the car accident. So like around 20 or 30 people died. And the tourism department was the main, department to arrange this arrangement. So Kim Jong-un executed general director and the person who sent the bus to the Chinese delegation. So 2 top officials executed publicly. But I truly believe that if my dad took the position, entire my family, including me, in 2017, we all dead. So it's some type of, I'm not a Christian or like that. Maybe, God saved, my family, or, other magical decisions. So we made a life decision in 2004. And if we stayed in North Korea, and then if my dad took the position, he was a top contender of that position, and there was no competition. And then, 2017, literally our family is dead. So yeah, that's the public execution happened in North Korea.
Yeah, it's incredible. What about before I want to get into your story a bit deeper and your escape and kind of the post escape living in America, but his sister, is it Kim Jong-un's sister? Is she in a position of power at this point as well within the family? Is she kind of like the second in command? Is that, or the second most influential? Is that fair to say?
Yep, it's fair to say she's the second powerful person in North Korea, and her name is Kim Yo-jong, and it looks like she's second powerful person, but not actually true. She's just the spokesperson of Kim Jong-un, her brother. And then she is managing propaganda and agitation department in the past.
The propaganda department?
Yes.
Is that really what it's called?
Yeah, we call them propaganda and agitation department.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a main department in North Korea. It's a powerful department. So
wow.
if you don't
straight to the point. Yeah.
They are not hiding.
Yeah. Right.
So she is the main person who managed all the big events for his, for her brother, and then she was kind of private secretary for Kim Jong-un. Yeah, and then every time Kim needs a aggressive statement, he asks her sister to public aggressive statement. Okay. So she called the former South Korean president like a dumb, or and then she called President Trump as old person like that, and then they exchanged rhetoric like rocket man like that. So I mean, she's kind of mouse for Kim Jong-un. And then she has a power, but she has limited power. Kim Jong-un's lover, and Kim Jong-un's lover has more power than her. Yeah, there was another lady called Hyunseung Lee. She's former band leader of Kim Jong-un. I mean the music band, and then she was private, secretary, assistant in private settings. Public settings, yes, this lady is Kim Jong-un's lover. She's 7 years older than Kim, but she's kind of mind controller for Kim. This is Kim Jong-un's wife, researcher, and then she was former singer, and she had like a normal family, and she was chosen. I think, I don't know, Kim Jong-un really liked her, um, but three, you know, women around the Kim Jong-un are competing their power now. Yeah.
Okay.
So Kim Yo-jong is, sister. Obviously, she has a power, but the Hyunseung, the second lady, has more private power over other two ladies. First lady looks like she has more private, time with Kim Jong Un, but no, Kim Jong Un spend more time with other ladies, like sleeping other ladies, and then that's why first lady now using her daughter to come close with her father. So Kim Jong Un is now this is Kim Jong Un's first daughter. So that's why Kim Jong Un is bringing her daughter in every spaces. Like he took her daughter to Mr. Lunch, and she took her daughter military parade. So we made a joke that. That young lady, 12 years old, she should go to Disneyland, and then instead she went to like Mr. Lunch, and then so
Nice.
yeah.
Perfect. So how many kids does he have? Is that his only? How many? You'd think he would have a lot of kids, I guess, with all these.
Yeah. Officially, she has two daughters with the first lady, but there are some reports after our escape, and then she has a boy, but it's unidentified information. And with her lover, she has a boy with Kim Jong Un. So that could be the next leader of North Korea. But like what I said, that boy is not official, boy, right? So it could be brutal, like competition between first the daughter and the first the boy, and maybe there will be another, children from other ladies. So, yeah.
He's a young guy, I guess.
Kim Jong Un.
Yeah.
Yes, he's just 1 year older than me, 41 now.
41.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you would think he would have a lot more time left, but he is expanding rather quickly. So sometimes your heart might
And
have.
the whole country is his. And
Yeah.
then whole lady is his in North Korea. So
Right.
there's no such limitation.
Right. Well, let's get into your escape. I'd like to understand. Just start me from kind of the beginning of that. However you'd like to tell the story. Just I'd love to hear the details of that situation.
So as I said earlier, in September 2014, I went to Pyongyang, and then I realized that there were so many executions, and many of my friends were disappeared, and my father and I came back to China. We discussed a little bit about why we should continue to live under Kim. We conclude that it's not the country we want to live longer, and it's not the leader we want to serve. So my father one day talked to the whole family that, can you follow me? We want to discuss issue. So we drove to the park near ocean in Dalian City, China, because we understood there were bugs, wiretapping devices in our house, and then in our car, and even like our cell phones. I had two cell phones in China. All those cell phones are double cell phones. Like basically, I believe that they were double cell phones of entire my family. It's easy to figure out actually. If you turn off all your cell phones, and then you can call with other person's cell phone to my cell phone number. The cell phone should be like the phone you're calling is turned off, but I can get the signal. There is an ongoing signal, even though my cell phones are powered off. So that means, whether it's Chinese government or North Korean government, they have a double phone for all my family. So we put all the electric devices in the car. We parked the car near park, and we went out the park, and then we talked about the situation in North Korea, and the people died, like the close people we died, and um, my father first initiated talk, and everybody we agreed. So yeah, let's go, and but we don't know how to escape. So my father got friend, and then he introduced some people from Korea, and the Korean people helped us to manage the escape routes. And it's not like other North Korean escapees went through China and then Gobi Desert in Mongolia and then another destination in Southeast Asia. No, we literally took airplane to a third country, and then from the third country, the South Korean government helped us to landing in South Korea. So it was a really short trip and then snap decision, but we worried so much because we understood Chinese government was watching us, and then what if they just stopped at the airport, not taking any airplane to other country. But luckily at the time there was several countries provide a free visa for North Korean citizens. So that's how we got luck. We explained to other people that, oh, we want to do some family vacation, but technically it's not authorized, or we are not allowed to do family vacation. But we talked to security agent, North Korean security agent managing the region, that we want to do short business trip and the family business trips, and then technically it's possible. And he said okay. So we flee the country with that process. um, Sorry, I cannot explain very detail like the engagement with the South Korean government people, but that's how we escaped.
So, and you can't say what the other country was that you went to prior to South Korea, right?
I believe now they remove all the free visa system right now, but I can talk like there are several countries, Malaysia, Singapore. Now I think they all removed the visa policy, but at the time it was possible.
Okay, so they can't do that now. So I wonder why, like why other countries would not welcome North Koreans.
Oh, if it's because of the visa system, you cannot visit the country without visa, but it's not easily get the visa with your North Korean passport. Yeah, obviously, the flying to United States is impossible. You cannot purchase the ticket, and also the South Korea as well. And then another main reason is if I purchase the ticket to South Korea with my North Korean passport in China, there was an alarm to the directly goes to Chinese government.
Okay.
So yeah, it's technically impossible.
So then, what happened from there? How did you end up getting to America?
After we went to South Korea, we were in safe house for 5 months, without internet, without cell phones.
And this is just you and your father.
No, my entire family.
Oh, your
my
entire
sister
family.
and my mom.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
okay.
it is a kind of protection by the South Korean government. So North Korean regime, after our escape, they are chasing us, tracking us, and even like some people from Reconnaissance General Bureau sent agents to China, and they was trying to mobilize the informant in South Korea to find out where we are residing. So South Korea's intelligence told us that there might be a activity against your family, and then we were informed that like we might get harmed. So we worried about it. So that's why we were in safe house for 5 months. And after we released from the safe house, we got citizenship. Suddenly, 1 month later, there was a like news. North Korean regime showed my grandma and uncle and aunt on the North Korean TV show and threatened us to come back. So there was no like a direct message like we will kill you or something like that. But they obviously forced my grandma talk like that. I want to see my grandchildren, and then you rewarded as a hero of nation, and then why you escape and come back to Pyongyang and come back to dear leaders. Um, the city. So we perceive that is direct threat to my family relatives remaining in North Korea. So we, quickly decided, we will not be safe in South Korea. And if we are staying in South Korea, and relatives in North Korea will be get harmed.
So was your plan at that point, prior to that, prior to you seeing that broadcast, was your plan to stay in South Korea indefinitely?
Not for sure, because many people asked me, how do you like South Korea? What's your first impression South Korea? To be honest, after landing in South Korea, our only thought was the family. Will they safe in North Korea, and they will be safe here? And then also, how do we survive here? Because we literally, giving up everything, like asset, the network, history. So we have to restart, right? And then we don't know what to do. That's the main thought. But
so who was it still back in North Korea that in your family that got on the broadcast?
So entire my relatives, including mother side and father side relatives. So my father has 4 other siblings. My mother has 4 other siblings. Yeah, and then grandparents.
Okay, so 10 people.
Including their families as well, like relatives. Yes.
So then what happened right after that broadcast?
So we didn't do any public activity. So we just kept ourselves limited. The reason we didn't do much public activity because we understand the North Korean regime's process. So after any person's escape, they do investigation. It took almost a year to investigate and conclude the case. So we kind of understood the system. So we believe that after a year, it might be better for treatment of my family living in North Korea. So if we were not discovered by the North Korean regime, we are in South Korea, and then they will not trade it like imprisoned in prison camp or like sent to the the labor camp. But so that's why we kept our silence. But North Korean regime initiated a disclosure of we are in South Korea, and I'm sure that people in South Korea, some informant of North Korean agents, told our story and our presence in South Korea. That's how North Korean regime realized we were in South Korea. So but after that, so we heard that many of my relatives got fired from the previous jobs. People who lived in Pyongyang, they relocated to their hometown, like Wonsan City, and then that was the initial punishment by the regime. But later, another family member got punished because of the U.S. government seizure of the ship. So in 2018, U.S. government seized a North Korean ship, and my uncle, mother side uncle, worked for that company, and he was the section manager for not shipping, but he was managing mushroom to do business with Japan and China. But yes, so but North Korean regime needs a scapegoat. Even though he was fired right after our escape, and then they put him as in jail for life. So that's a big tragedy for my family. And even though we are not involved this, incident, but North Korean regime put my family as a like scapegoat there. And then another family member, my cousin's husband, he had a liver problem, and then he wanted to surgery in China, but they blocked his visa and then travel because we left, and then they worried about he will be in touch with us, so they blocked him, leaving North Korea to get the surgery. So we heard that because he couldn't get the surgery in North Korea and even in China, so he passed away. So
Sorry.
yeah, that was to family like news side we got. After that, after the pandemic, we haven't got any news.
Do you carry any regret or any emotions forward to today based on your family being back there and the way that they have been treated and potentially might be treated based on your escape?
I would say we don't have like such regret, but we still um, you know we still want our families safe there, and we will do our best to keep their families safety. And I hope that some of my father's friends and our friends can take care of them. And then there will be a day we will liberate, and then there will be a day we want to compensate their sacrifice. So that's why I'm working on, and my family is working on, and we want to publicly raise awareness of the situation. So but we still like how do I say, like every time I listen like some of the North Korean music, and then some of the the memories I have, and then I still wanted to communicate with my friends, and then the talk about the issue we had before. So yeah,
All right, fantastic. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break.
sure,
Yeah, I'd like to just take a quick bio, and lunch might even be here, and then we'll come back and finish
sure,
up.
sure.
All right, cool. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yep. So yeah, we were kind of getting into your escape, and you were in South Korea and then heading to America. So walk me through that. What happens next?
So after we came to US in March 2016,
No problem getting here.
no, we came with the proper visa, and then we reach out to U.S. government, and then they are happy to talk with us. Um, so we went through the process to apply asylum here, and then now we are in the process now.
The process is still going on.
It impacted with the by the several like I mean, that's a frustrating part for me. So U.S. immigration system is so slow, and then I hope there might be a differentiate between the other citizens, and then more like some the people who might be um, like the people who might be great for America, like giving more information or helping U.S. government. Like those people should be respected, I guess. But it's like a all same immigration process, and then sometimes there are different priorities. Like when there was a Russian-Ukraine war, there was a Ukraine, immigrants, and also the Afghanistan, withdrawal, and then there are lots of Afghanistan people. So we don't have many North Korean escapees in the U.S. So we were just normal, and then the process was so slow, and also I was impacted by the pandemic as well. So we all rescheduled.
I have a couple more questions maybe about before we kind of get into what you're doing now to help people escape the country and find asylum, because that's fascinating as well, and the courage that it's got to take to do that and to be a part of that. Because, I mean, you've got to. Do you feel like you're a target at all? I mean, do you feel any risk, or are you concerned at all that there's going to be some retaliation, that he's going to, that the government's going to send someone to America to find you? Like, does that cross your mind?
Several years ago, one of my friends in China contacted me, and then just informed me, do not ever try to go back to China, and even going back to South Korea could be risk for you. So for North Korean spy agents, most of them are living in other countries like Southeast Asia, and they have their passport, like multiple passports, so they can easily travel to South Korea or China
or America.
So that's a tricky part. It's not easy for them to travel to America, and America has like a strict immigration system, and then most of them are worrying about the cost. So the tickets are expensive, the round trip tickets, and then they are afraid after the mission, if they were caught, and then they'll be imprisoned for life in the U.S., right? But it's different in South Korea. In South Korea, there's so many pro-North Korean activists, pro-North Korean people. They will provide the legal services. They will provide in anything necessary for them. So actually, there are some cases, those people who identify as the North Korean spies, they were released after 5 years or 7 years. So North Korean spy agents are educated in that way. So if you do a mission in South Korea, don't worry about it. You will be released after several years. There are people who helped you. But in the US, it's a different story. You could be like caught like for the life. So really, really less chance to, released by the US. So I don't think they will come to US to, to harm me. But there has been threat, and there has been monitoring by the US government. They checked my profile and then YouTube, and they not just my YouTube or not just my YouTube. They checked the other defectors' YouTube in South Korea. So they monitored, and then they were trying to make a report of people's network and life in South Korea. So so many agents in China, North Korean agents, they are doing such monitoring. So if I travel to other countries, and I'll be targeted. But in the US, they believe I'm protected by the US government. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. And do you have to take any precautions, like to cover up your name or your residence or any of that?
Yep, that's exactly what we did in South Korea. So it was a one recommendation from South Korean government. We need to hide, and then not detected by North Korean agents. So we had to change our names and then history, and even like the birthdays. So current name I have is new name after my escape, and then birthday is also new birthday. And then if they look at my history of South Korea, and then it might be rewritten history. So but I have an original version, and then rewritten history. So yeah, that's
do both of your birthdays make you 40?
Yes.
Yes.
I
Okay.
didn't change my the year.
Okay.
So, yes.
Got it. Okay. Got
But
it.
they asked me, do you want to change your age? And then I said no. There's no benefit for me to change my age. So I may look young. So if I change like now 30, and then, but I mean, no difference. So yeah.
Got it. That's cool. And your parents and your sister did the same thing. Are they still
Yes.
alive? They're still.
Yes, they are still in. Washington D.C. area with me, and then yeah, they did all the same thing. They changed the whole name and history and birthday.
And there are, how many defectors have come out of North Korea then today? How many are alive living outside of the country?
From late 1990s, I believe that there are about 35,000 escapees now in South Korea.
Wow.
And in the U.S., not reached to 300 defectors.
300.
Yes. But and I believe some are outside of South Korea and United States, like in Europe, UK. And then most of North Korean escapees in China are not identified. But I believe there are more people are living in China without any protection and then identification. So they have babies with Chinese farmers, and they work for Chinese farming. But sometimes Chinese government caught them and send them back to North Korea, even though those women had baby with Chinese citizen, and they lived in China for 10 years. If Chinese government decides, to get close with North Korea, they send them back. So they get punished and then tortured and then later released, but they escape again. And there's like a vicious circle. They capture them again, send them back. What the reason China is send them back is they categorize North Korean escapees as the illegal border crossing. So I mean, they could have their own law, right? I mean, it's illegal border crossing is technically illegal activity, but we have different situation. Those people are not they didn't want to cross the border because they want to make lives there, and if they stay in North Korea, they could die. So it's a surviving decision for them. And then they want to go South Korea, but the China didn't allow people to go, South Korea through China. So
they're sending the kids back as well.
Yeah, kids back as well. Sometimes I also received some, letters from the captured people, and then they mentioned they are imprisoned in Chinese facility. And then they were trying to explain China. They want to go South Korea, and then China didn't listen. So, that's a tragedy. And then I hope Chinese leadership can recognize North Korean escapees so that, give them more, opportunity to make their life, not just China, but, in South Korea. Yeah.
Yeah. Escapees. I mean, the fact that we're even talking about human beings who want to move away from a country into another country as an escapee, as opposed to someone who just moves to a different country, is, it's indicative of the issue and the situation and the problem. It's a human rights problem, and the fact that the world doesn't see that and respond to that, and at least allow the refugees to have asylum within whatever country they want to go to is just mind-boggling. It's like that they would send human beings back to that regime when people they're escaping something, and they know that they're going to get probably tortured and punished severely when they go back to this living hell. It's incredible that there's not more. Like that the UN isn't doing more, and that these countries that they don't offer visas to people so that they can actually, live a normal life.
It's a kind of UN problem as well. UN is mostly influenced by major powers, not just the United States but also China and Russia. And then China and Russia are the main supporters of North Korean regime. So they neutralize those issues with other immigration issues. So it's not easy for the escapees to make real voices, but we do make voices at the United Nations level. So because of escapees activity, United Nations hosts human rights convention there, then the human rights the meeting even though China and Russia objected it. So, but still, those two are the main, neighbors of North Korea. I mean, the South Korea is divided, right, with North Korea, and then there's like 1 million soldiers are guarding this, border. So literally, it's impossible to cross the border and then escape to South Korea. There are few cases, soldiers they did, but for the normal people, it's not easy. So recently, there are several families escaped from using the wooden boats, but mostly the wooden boats are very weak, and then if they, face a hurricane or storm, whole family died. But they were lucky, those two families, so they managed to escape. But many of them actually, died from their escape and farm at the seafood farming.
The people on the border that are guarding the border, those are North Korean soldiers. Are there South Korean soldiers as well on the border?
On both sides, the
sides.
soldiers, but North Korea. Why we saying that DMZ is most heavily guarded area is North Korea literally run 1 million soldiers. I mean, in border area, probably like 70% of the North Korean soldiers are in the DMZ area.
And so North Korea can pay for that and can fund these people, I guess, because the soldiers and everything else that they're funding, they don't have tax, so they're not taxing the citizens, but they can pay for this because wages are so low. You're paying people $6 a year, and B, they own the businesses. So if you have a business and you're selling clothes, it's going to be a state sponsored business. And C, I guess, because they employ hackers, right? They employ hackers that have a quota of a couple $3,000 a month, where they're out there state sponsored hacking people who they're paying 50 cents a month to, that are earning $3,000 a month to hack. So that's where if there is any, I can't imagine, it's a financial disaster, obviously, but that's how they're able to afford to operate the country.
That's correct. Low wage, and mostly when I served North Korean military, I talked to other media that I only, paid like one ice cream, cost per month. So basically nothing. And even we have to send some, portion as a, member of the Socialist Youth League and a member of North Korean Workers' Party. And then, as you mentioned earlier, North Korea is state-owned. Everything is state-owned. We don't have private property rights. You cannot own a house. You cannot own a car. You cannot have your own business. Even though we do have a black market activity, you have your own business run, but it is technically illegal by the North Korean law. So the government, at any time, at any place, they can seize any asset of citizens. Other than salary earned, it's all illegal earning. So that's why North Korea is, they can mention, owning everything under the regime is for public good. But still, none of them were, benefit the people. And they, through this, money, they can support the military. The reason they support military is keep this regime ongoing. And nowadays they lack, resources, and then to transform to revenue system to the cyber hacking, right? The cyber hackers around in China and Russia, there are almost more than 3,000 hackers. And then they are literally, making money through the regime. They get less paid, and like less than 10% probably. But they have a quota $3,000 per person, and even like experienced guys, they got mission that $10,000 per month. If they were released in this society, they could make a good income here. But they are making money for the regime to for the regime to control the people. So that's how North Korea works now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the ultimate big government.
Yep.
It's like, you see big government it's a fear here in the United States that government is going to get too big, and it's going to take steal all of our rights, and we're not going to have any say. And of course, the right to bear arms in this country, the right to own weapons is kind of the forefathers' way of protecting the citizens against that, so that government can't get too big and can't that the citizens will always be able to outnumber and oppose through protests and hopefully peaceful and but riots, but ultimately be able to keep the government in check so they don't feel like they can just control the general population. And as much as as much as guns get misused in this country and elsewhere, based on you kind of have to let people have guns. Otherwise, you end up with a situation like North Korea, where the government has completely taken over everyone's rights.
Yep, I agree with you, and I think U.S. has balance between the federal government and state the government, and also in terms of guns, that's why North Korean restrict the bullets, and they think those bullets could be misused against the leader and government. So basically, they are restricting people with these policies. And then at the beginning, I didn't understand why citizens of U.S. needs a gun, because it seems like none of the countries allow people bear arms. But I learned that U.S. is large country, and then U.S. has a history, and then founding fathers they discussed bearing arms is critical rights, and then fundamental the issue of the protecting for their own asset and then life. So yeah, I kind of understand that's the right way to do, and
It's kind of the only way, it's the only way I feel like to do it. It's not perfect, and people are going to make bad decisions, but people can make bad decisions with a knife or a rock just as easily as they can make bad decisions with a gun or a homemade bomb or whatever it is. So, if we're trusting our government with nuclear weapons, the least they could do is trust us with a pistol.
yeah.
So, what about food? I'm curious, like buying food. If you're making only enough money to buy one thing of ice cream per month, like are people grow? I went to Peru at the end of last year, and as poor as Peru was, and a lot of poverty there, and not a lot of money. Excuse me. There wasn't a lot of violence. There wasn't, like, everybody seemed to be at peace, and there wasn't a lot of theft, and just driving around some of the local communities, you see that people are growing their own food. And you don't see that in the United States. You don't have like people growing a lot of food in their backyard and eating, and having cows and drinking the milk and eating their own chickens, and it's just we're reliant upon this system, this matrix, the society, civilization, and the food chain and the supply chain in order to make do in this country in this system of capitalism. But in Peru, you're growing your own stuff, so you never have to worry about starvation and death and hunger. Yeah, unless there's some natural disaster, some climate catastrophe. But in general, they're maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and I feel like that's a big part of why you don't see a lot of violence and whatnot. But what is the situation like in North Korea as it relates to food?
That's a good comparison between Peru and North Korea. But so technically, we are allowed to farm several plants near your house, but in North Korea, most housing are apartments, so we couldn't have their own private the farming field, and though there is no, as I mentioned earlier, there is no private ownership, so we cannot land or purchase a land, and then government won't let you farm without any permission other than farmers. So this is technically impossible for many people grow plants for themselves, but some they do, and there's some they raising chicken and pigs in their apartment and then selling them. to the market, and then they buy other stuff through that money. So that's how North Korea's black market works, and people are doing everything to make a living. And then you mentioned there are no like robbery in in Peru, and you know in terms of like violence, North Korea is strictly controlling those aspects. So you won't see any like violence often in North Korea.
Only the government commits acts of violence.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But we often see the stealing people because they cannot make a money, and then there's no food, and then many people are stealing. And even the main like the robbery group is our military. So while we are serving the military, we got ordered to steal the food from farmers. Yeah, the corns, and then the cabbages. So I was mobilized twice to steal like food. I mean, you have no choice. The senior guy ordered me and my friends. So like that.
And the citizens can't protect themselves from you. There's
No,
nothing they can do.
they wanted to fight back, but the gang of soldiers, those individuals, they cannot do anything about that. And then sometimes they report the case to the government level, local government. They can do anything for that, and then they sent these cases to central, party there. But in the second Kim's era, Kim Jong-il mentioned after the reporting this incident, it's a kind of major incident. Like the army, they raided a whole like a farmer's place, and then they stole lots of food, rice. And then once Kim Jong-il got reported, and then he just mentioned one sentence: "My army never did stealing." So those people, the farmers who made the report, they're all imprisoned because they make Kim Jong-il's army as a robbery gang still. So that's how the regime treated those people.
Not only do you have your entire crop stolen, you're imprisoned and punished for reporting it. Yeah. Yeah, sounds like a great guy. So what about nuclear weapons? Are there like where is North Korea at as it relates to nukes?
Nukes is very complicated, and then it is developed for decades. After the Soviet Union collapse, and they are really afraid, especially the second game is really afraid of the country's collapse, like Soviet Union. And at the time, China transformed the economy into market economy, and then he doesn't want a market economy. It means his regime cannot survive under market economy. So he thought that nuclear weapon, and he witnessed the Ceausescu case in Romania, and then later they witnessed his Iraq cases and Libya cases. So he believed that because those countries don't have nuclear weapons, so U.S. made them collapse. That's why Kim is he was obsessed with nuclear weapons, and then asked the nation to develop nuclear weapons. And then but the second game was really cautious publicizing North Korea possesses nuclear weapons, because it all related to international sanctions. And then possessing nuclear weapon means that it could be linked to his assassination. So he was hiding it, and then he developed nuclear weapons on the underground. But now the third Kim Jong-un, the current North Korean leader, publicizing so much, and he wants to make North Korea as a nuclear state. So when we develop nuclear weapons, there are so many people think that we got the the capacity from Russia or China, but actually there was a Pakistan, the scholar, the physician helped North Korea's nuclear weapon initially. So he transferred the technology and teach them how to develop nuclear weapons. So that's the technology they got. And then later they got help from Russia. And then most, weapon-related materials are provided by China. I mean, obviously North Korea purchased it, but so those countries are helping North Korea's nuclear weapons. Yeah.
There was a submarine recently that actually Ryan showed me a picture of it. A North Korean submarine that was on a dock, and that they attempted to get into the water, and or the maybe it was like the whatever that it was resting on broke, and it tipped over, and now it's covered in tarps. And this was like some kind of really embarrassing moment
Yes.
for North Korea. Yeah, there
Yeah.
it is. So what's the story here?
It's so Kim Jong-un is investing his all asset into weapon, modernization, because most North Korean weapons and then the devices are outdated. And then I often mention that in the North Korean military, we are still using World War II equipments. And then Kim's obsession is trying to modernize a North Korea's military, like United States or South Korea, and then he wants to sell those weapons those countries. So it's the part of the project that he was doing. And for the missile parts, he actually made some achievement. So we are selling bullets and missiles to other countries, and then small submarines. But North Korea is really weak on the Navy side. We don't have ships anymore, and then we don't have major the battleships. So it's his first initiative to make a big destroyer, and then it failed. So I guess Russia provided those steel and then electrical devices for this ship, and then probably North Korean technicians and experts couldn't handle, or they misplaced some parts. And then I think that's why they couldn't make a success. But I'm sure they should have done like a test run, or do some tests, and then calculation of those stuff. And then that was a big embarrassment for Kim Jong-un, because he was on the site, and then he broadcasted on the media and the international media, and then so it was like a big embarrassment for him. And that's why we assume that probably some of the engineers will be died of this.
I'm
It
sure.
will, yeah,
I'm sure
he
they're
was sent
dead
to
already,
prison
probably.
camp. Yes.
So the people of North Korea saw that did they see the actual boat like tipping over and crashing into the ocean?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oops.
But
yeah, some people are gonna die for that.
Yeah, several will be imprisoned in Park prison camp, and then it's just, if he decide to execute them, then there might be public execution.
Right.
But if we go back to history, like actually his grandfather, the first game, they made a big ships. Other than that, like it's a commercial ships, but they successfully launched many ships. But like in his era, now he studied, and then the first time he failed. So it's such embarrassment for him.
So he was there personally when it tipped over. Wow.
Yeah. So that's the main like a picture now, like Ryan is showing. He was there with his daughter and other, the military generals.
Mm-hmm. Everybody seems happy at this point.
Yeah. That's before like failure.
Yeah. Interesting. Why does Russia what is their reason for attempting to be friends with North Korea and being an ally of North Korea? Like what's in it for them?
I mean, it's related history, and part of related history, and then now current situation. So, during the Korean War, Russia was the main, supporter of North Korean soldiers, army. Russia provided 300 tanks and weaponries. That's why North Korea invaded South Korea first. At the time, South Korea didn't even have a one tank there. And that's the starting points. And Stalin supported Kim, and then actually Stalin and then Russian leadership is the main one who put Kim as a North Korean leader. Even though he was inexperienced, he was young. So it's kind of North Korean regime was incubated by Russian, the socialists, communists. Yeah, that's the history. Now a little bit different. Like Putin is sanctioned by the Western countries because of his war, and most of business and the industry is impacted by sanction. Especially, he cannot procure more armor from other countries, and then he may didn't realize the capacity of Russian the munition industry. So they quickly ran out those armors, and he figured out that North Korea has bunch of armors from like decades after World War II, after Korean War. They kept producing armors and then lots of weapons. So that's a for good spare for the Putin's army, and Putin for the half thinking. Further has thinking that potentially he can turn North Korea as a military factory zone for him. The factory, like literally a factory for his weapons. So it is possible because North Korea is nothing related to any other Western countries. It's not impacted by the Western sanctions. They are literally connected through land and then sea, open sea. So none of U.S. sanctions can interrupt Russia and North Korea relationship right now. Whether it's economy, whether it's military. So for Putin, it is really good alternative for his factory. So these two guys are driving his Russian vehicle. It's gifted by Putin, and then. I'm sure Kim Jong-un won't drive that one because it is. He may understand it is all like wiretaped and then send signals Kim Jong-un's presence. So,
and the other allies of Russia and North Korea are whom you have
China.
Yeah,
but China and Russia is a little bit complicated. They look like alliance, but they are still competitor. Yeah.
Odd question, but Dennis Rodman.
Wow.
You've probably never been asked about him, but it just popped into my head. I was a huge Bulls fan when I was growing up, and but he went over there, right? And he attempted to talk to him. Like that's literally the end of what I know about that story and that situation and the relationship. But what happened, and what's the entire story here?
So Kim spent the time in Switzerland, as we all know. He was there more than 3 years. And Kim was big fan of NBA, and then he played games like the Xbox or the PlayStation NBA games, and he watched NBA games finals, and Chicago Bulls was the ultimate team for him.
Yeah, me too.
And then he loved Michael Jordan, and then he talked to his friends, and literally after returning to North Korea, he organized a basketball team, but not like the neighbor friends. He brought like North Korea's national team as his own team, and then put other guys to his brother's team. So those two guys are competing. And then those basketball players are, national team players for the nation. So that's how that's such Kim Jong-un was obsessed with the basketball at the time. And then after he became a leader, and he wanted to show that he has passion on sports. So he wanted to invite the Bulls team members. Obviously, Michael Jordan was the top, candidate.
Yeah, but he's not going.
No, so he said no.
Yeah.
They actually sent the invitation. Then he said no. And then, second invitation was Dennis Rodman.
Okay.
And then he got accepted. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I want to go.
Okay.
And they had a good time there. And then, surprisingly, I was there and in Pyongyang, and, our reaction was odd. Like, look at, Dennis Rodman. He was pierced. He has tattoo, and then he was a big, tall guy. And then he's speaking not like a normal American, and then, like a drunken person. So, their reaction, they're like, what is talking about? And then why our, dear leader is good friend with him. Like,
Yeah.
literally, we talked about that. It's
Right. Because he's American, he's the enemy, right?
yeah, enemy.
but at the same time,
and then for the people who went outside, they understand who Dan Rodman is. But most of North Korean citizens, they don't have idea who that person is.
Okay, right.
Yeah, and then they don't know what Chicago Bulls is. So that's their reaction. Why and who is that like that? So, yeah, that was the reactions from Pyongyang citizen.
Yeah. So I mean, just a little bit of contradiction there, I guess. If you hate America and America is the enemy and it's evil, and yet you're gushing over the basketball players and the teams and the American films, the movies, but your population doesn't understand why you're idolizing these people, because you're only you're allowing yourself to look at all of this foreign information and data and videos, but you're not allowing anybody else to. So it's
Yeah.
strange. It's got to be strange. for
That's
people.
correct. Like a lot of people will have questions on their head, that they even restrict us watching like NBA games. They don't allow us to watch Hollywood movies. But this, leader guy is doing that, and then we just question. I mean, but we cannot, put us as an equivalent to this leader. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. Interesting. So, okay, so let's get into a little bit of liberation and what liberation might look like, and then kind of what you're doing to help, kind of to help citizens. But what, why do you think, what is it going to take in order to free North Korea? And do you see it happening in your lifetime?
So when we talk about North Korea's liberation, there are two arguments from two groups. One, they think, it's a regime collapse. The other think, argue that we need to talk with North Korea and then do peaceful coexistence. And in that way, North Korea can transform, into, the market economy. But I would say arguing North Korea could be a peaceful coexistence country with South Korea, it's nonsense. Kim Jong-un regime's goal is to keep this power forever. He won't give up his power. And coexist means that he's somehow, good relationship with South Korea, and then he somehow incorporated South Korea's system and then, influence over North Korea. He won't allow to that. So that's more likely the pro-North Korean group's argument, and they wanted to support North Korean regime. And another, the collapse theory, I think the collapse should come from within, and then not collapse of the entire North Korea. I mean the collapse of the top, the Kim, regime. To simply put, it's more like replacement. So I believe Kim should be replaced by non-Kim family member, so that non-Kim family member can have open mindset to discuss with US and South Korea to make this country open and better place.
But how does that happen?
So that's why we are trying to send more information, news. We believe that, like me and other people who escaped and who are in China and North Korea, have with knowledge, but they cannot act. So we want to give them more information, and I hope entire North Korean population could equip with knowledge. not just we are sending anti-government information, just the general knowledge, like this podcast. We are sending them, like Matt, you're doing such great podcast with a number of people who have different knowledges. We can send them into North Korea, and then let them understand what people outside think and do and live, so they can learn and then why their system is totally different from United States. And then eventually I hope they can understand they don't have freedom and human rights, so that they will fight for their freedom and human rights, which means that asking more responsibility from Kim, or Kim should be replaced, or he resigned his from the post, so that other member can have more future for the Korean population. The reason I'm emphasizing non-Kim member, because Kim is third generation of Kim family, and then Kim family committed so much crimes against humanity, and then that's the most hidden truth by the government, and most North Korean people don't understand how the human rights violations are committed in their daily lives. So if the truth is revealed, then I don't think Kim's family can continue to maintain the power. So that's the main reason I think a non-Kim family member. But so far, I thought it was an easy solution, like like replacing Kim by U.S. or other countries. But I don't think U.S. or the Western countries do that.
Because there's no oil. I mean, that's a big. But if the U.S. did go in and replaced him, I mean, Russia and China, how are they going to react to that? Is that the fear? Like, is that the reason why? There's not a monetary reason why to do it. I'm not really joking when I say there's no oil there. I guess it would just be a pure human rights reason to do it and a right thing to do reason to do it. But the risk, so the risk of going in and replacing him is what? Escalation with Russia and China and potential retaliation by North Korea, or like what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so great point. And then oil is great, implication. So actually, my dad invited Hong Kong businessman into North Korea in 2007. He was a oil big mogul in Africa. He was a Chinese, but he was an African citizen. He was supported by Chinese government. He has a 32 oil field in Angola. And my dad brought him to North Korea because we knew that around North Korea we have oil. So the Chinese businessman sent the delegation to North Korea in 2007. They did exploration of the explored North Korea, the land and then sea near North Korea. Later, they conclude that North Korea doesn't have valuable oil asset, but but we disagree with that because we think that there's some oil, especially there are near North Korea. There's a big oil field in China and Russia, so it's impossible North Korea don't have such the asset. But later we found out that China is worried about U.S. involvement. If North Korea was found as a major oil producer, and then it could be a like risk area for China too. So they announced that North Korea doesn't have oil asset, and then they return back. But the Chinese guy, business guy, he's still interested. He has a real report, but it is blocked by Chinese government. So, as you mentioned, if U.S. has business interests, U.S. might involve in North Korea situation. But so far, U.S. doesn't have a business interest.
Right. They won't do it for human rights because it's the right thing to do, even though we're the global police. But we'll only do it if there's money involved. It's
And then, as you mentioned earlier, it could be, provoke China and Russia, right? And then China, Russia doesn't want U.S. come close to their, territory. So that's good. I mean, your analysis is pretty accurate. So that's why my, father and I trying to make a value of North Korea. So like, before 2018 Trump Kim summit, we had a meeting with the NS people that we talked to them. If it's a big if Kim Jong-un agreed to abandon at least the one nuclear weapon, President Trump can offer, I can build a Trump Tower there. They actually made a video, but the video quality I thought like not well made, but still it's a good, indication that US can invest in real estate, like in beach areas like that. So, during the campaign, President Trump also mentioned that North Korea has a nice real estate, the area. So we're trying to increase business opportunity, if Kim or, other leader decide to open the country. So, and as I mentioned earlier, North Korea is a big, economy hub. Could be a big economy hub if that is, become a free society. Around North Korea, there was a, 1.5 million population. 1.5. 150 million population with China, and Russia. In Japan, it's around the 200 million population. It's total, including South Korea, it's about like a 400 million population. So it's a big economic, hub. So there might be a big economic opportunity if North Korea was entirely opened. So it's a good opportunity for U.S. business, owners, and then other business, competitors can deal with North Korea. So that's a main dream for us that, bring investment from U.S., Japan, and South Korea to invest North Korea. But current Kim regime won't accept that. So we need a new leader who have open-minded. So that's why we promote information, access for general public in North Korea, so that those people should eventually rise up for their own rights. And even like elite class, they should make a decision for themselves and the nation. And I'm sure there are some people still worry about, the future of the country. So I hope they can act with their, right mindset.
It's just tough. How do you rise up when you know you're going to get executed?
That's true. 3-generation punishment is a severe punishment, and no one could escape if you make a voice against the regime. So that's why I'm saying, the information should be generalized in like majority of people. So the majority of people can agree with this information, even though there's a government propaganda. If majority people, he's right, or this should be the way we should go, and then it might be neutralize those executions. So gradually, I think people are aware the situation, and maybe they should act. But I mentioned earlier, I think, it was easy. So when I see the U.S. government, the operation against, Iran General Qasem Soleimani or the Al-Qaeda leader, and, they just bomb and replace him or, kill him. But in terms of North Korea, I think it's not that easy for the U.S. government. Yeah.
It's tough, man. It's a tough situation. I feel like, if we had a more peaceful globe, if the United States and Russia were friends, if the United States and China were friends, then we could easily talk these things out, and we could easily, decide collectively as the nation's superpowers to say, hey, there's a problem here. Like, we need to do something about this because the people they're in prison. There's 25 million people in prison in North Korea, and nobody's doing anything about it. And like, so let's actually stop fighting with each other and get some actual problem solved. And that's a major problem. But yeah. So, I mean, if Kim dies tomorrow, because it's not going to happen, I don't think, anytime soon from a rising up of the people. It's not going to happen anytime soon from the United States or the United Nations or anybody else going in to help. So if Kim ends up dying of a heart attack in the next 2 days, like, what happens? Who are the next successors, and like, who makes that decision? And is it still his sister's still in power? Like, his people are like, how does that situation play out? What are the options?
You're asking like a top government U.S. official and, the expert. That's the question I got from the government officials. So if Kim died tomorrow, North Korea won't announce that. They will keep it like for 3 days, 2 days to control the entire nation. They will recall all the generals from military who can mobilize the unit, and also those province the leadership, recall them to the party convention. So they will put them in one space, and they will cut all the communication system. And then top leaders, including Kim Jong-un's sister, and then Kim Jong-un's wife and other top leadership, they will decide who will be the next leader and who will be temporarily managing, the situation. So I guess it could be Kim Yo-jong, the Kim's sister, could be the temporary leader if Kim dies tomorrow. But eventually they will appoint someone from the Kim. But I think now Kim's kids are too young. It's not possible to appoint them as a successor in that age. I hope that when the time comes, they can, appoint other person, like experienced leader there. So that's the way we can shift, Kim regime to, different leadership. But truth be told, that's the mechanism. Kim family would like to appoint to one from the Kim family. Another high possibility is the current North Korean leader's brother, the guy who is obsessed with, guitar and music, the guy who went to, UK to participate Eric Clapton's, the concert there. So he has a mental issue, but still he's a big candidate for the next leader if Kim dies tomorrow. It's a good for him because he this is a half brother was assassinated in Malaysia airport. Kim killed his half brother publicly. Yeah.
I think I remember that.
Yes.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, but he has a own brother, like no half brother. But the half brother is mentally ill, and then he's obsessed with guitar and other music, and then so now he's more like sidelined. But if Kim dies, he could be returned to his the power, and then.
Was he poisoned in the airport, or what was this?
No, half brother was poisoned. Yeah, and then they hired two innocent like ladies from Indonesia and Vietnam. They didn't know what they were doing. They were just thinking that they're filming the shots in TikTok or YouTube. And then, so that was a very wild, and surprisingly, 4 of North Korean agents were at the same spot. They were monitoring the situation. So, like I said, then that's the process. They will appoint somebody, and then it could be from Kim family, or if they can make wise decision, not from Kim family. Someone.
I mean, in terms of the rest of the work that you're doing in order to kind of help the situation, stuff that you haven't covered yet, what are the main things that you're attempting to change through your work about the situation in North Korea?
So I annually run a program called North Korean Young Leaders Assembly, which I bring 10 North Korean escapees from Korea and United States. The main purpose of this program is educate them and make them leaders in the future, and raising their awareness how international politics works. So I brought them to the U.S. government agencies and Congress and U.S. think tank so that they can experience how U.S. politics works, and then the North Korean policy are made in the U.S. The policy circle. And also we went to United Nations and did public testimony so that United Nations the members can support North Korean human rights. So we held 2 years of public testimony at the mission of South Korea, and we brought like almost more than 200 government officials there, and from the different countries, so that we share the truth and experience, so that people can make right decision for the human rights. So actually, we made some successful story there. So they, after our testimony, they hold the North Korean human rights meetings at the United Nations Security Council, and then also other parts of the meetings for North Korean human rights. We know it's not enough for developing the human rights voices, but still, it's good stage and then education for future leaders to do some experience. For the past 2 years, graciously, the program was supported by the Global Peace Foundation. But this year, we faced some financial issues, like many other institutions in DC. So we are actually asking some people to fund this program. So any audience here can help us, and then that would be great. But we will make it happen eventually. So, yep.
Very good. I mean, it's been an incredible conversation. I guess maybe last question is, if you had one message for Kim, what would it be?
I think, Kim should be resigned immediately. Yeah, that's peaceful way you keep your, life. And then I found a really good place for him recently. I went to San Francisco, and then there was a nice island for him to be waiting. Like, it's, it is a former prison camp site, but...
Sure. Alcatraz,
yes. Yeah. I realized that should be a nice place, keeping himself. The reason I'm saying, because he loves, controlling entire nation, and he loves keeping people isolated, and then he wants to be a great leader, so he can be a great leader in Alcatraz, and then he can bring whole crew for him. We won't do like North Korean regime to separate families. So yeah, I think that was a kind of funny conversation I had with my colleagues, and then I think this place is perfect for Kim Jong-un. So
love it.
Yeah.
Well, very good, man. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your time and your knowledge and your courage, really your courage for doing what you do.
No, it's my really honor to be with you here. And then we really had a nice conversation. I enjoyed the conversation as well.
Yep,
Thank you.
Me too. Yep, and thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.